Good morning and welcome to the MoonBound Podcast. I'm Julia and I am the spinner and weaver and dyer and knitter behind MoonBound Artisanship. And I would like you to feel welcome in my kitchen this morning. It is March 12th and it is about 10:30. I am wearing, for those of you who are returning viewers, you'll know this. This is last week's finished object. I am wearing the split back tank top that I finished and I really like it. I do wish it was a little bit longer. I followed the pattern with regards to length and I was a bit worried about running out of yarn. I did not run out of yarn. So another couple of inches would be nice. And if I make another one, I'll keep that in mind. But it is really, really comfortable. And I really like the fabric that it made. So, successful finished project. I actually have, for the second time in a row, another finished object. The Union Square socks are done. So these are, like I said, the Union Square socks by Knitting Expat Designs in Knit Picks yarn. They're Lost Like Heather. And I had two 50-gram balls. I have 39 grams left. I still really, really like this colorway. I think it is absolutely everything it talked about. It is very much like the lake that we lived by when I was a little girl. The clouds and some of the darkness and the water that was green and sometimes brighter than that and bluer and there's little bits of teal in here and it's well named. Really, really like it. It's also really soft. The tweedy bits were occasionally a little bit finicky, but not terribly. And the pattern does, the only thing I think I would do differently if I did this pattern again is one of the options. I love how Mina gives you tons of options. One of the options was to have the lace work go in different directions, right and left. And I did that and I think it just made it take a little bit longer because I had to stop and think on every row and in between each sock. So I think if I were to do it again, I wouldn't do that. But other than that, really, really enjoyed knitting this. The ends went fast. I think the last time I showed it to you, which was 2 weeks ago, I was about here. So really cruised on it this week, which was my goal. The socks are knit on a US size 1 Addy sock rackets, so that goes really fast. So I'm really happy to have a third pair of hand knit socks that are for me. I knit several pairs last year, but I gave almost everything away. And like I've said before, with my recovery from my foot injury, I'm having a really hard time wearing any other kind of sock. My feet apparently only like hand knits now. And because I just don't own very many, I've been doing a lot of hand wash. So getting an extra pair into the rotation is important to me. And so I'm going to immediately cast on another pair of socks. I'm going to use the leftovers from the sock blank. I call it my lime margarita sock blank on the Ravelry page that I set up for the last pair of socks that I made, which were just a basic vanilla sock. These I'm going to do a toe up, and I'm just gonna go until I run out of yarn. I think I have a little bit over 50, so that should give me a much shorter cuffed sock or legged sock, but another pair of socks is the goal, and I really like the way that yarn is holding up to, you know, nearly constant round the clock wear, because until these were done, I only had 2 pairs of hand knit socks, so I've been wearing and washing and wearing and washing. So I'm looking forward to rapidly knitting myself some more socks so that I don't have to continue with that, and maybe never going back to commercially made socks, who knows. So one of the other things I worked on this week was the Multnomah shawl. Got some love. I finished the garter section and got into, that's the back side of the shawl, got into the feather and fan portion. And my plan here is just run myself out of yarn. As big of a shawl as that will make is as big of a shawl as I have. I love this little stitch marker. I made it myself, but just the slight little jingle belly while you're knitting, I really appreciate it. It's kind of too big for this, but so I like how this is working up. Really enjoyed working on it. This is Glow Beauty from Within's. Pan is back on her classic glow base, which is a 75/25 merino nylon, 4-ply fingering. There's our band. And I really, really love it. I especially love, and I just want to highlight this, I especially love these little darker spots that are in it. Like, it has this beautiful teal and the soft blue, but it also has this little bit of a darker green, almost an olive running through it. And I really like that little pop of interest. Just, you know, there's not very much. It's just a speckling in there. I really like it. So I'm really enjoying this. I did find a pattern that I think is going to work really well for this yarn. I've been struggling with this yarn. If you were new, you don't know that, but this is Brooks Farm yarn. It is their Ellie, and it is a thick thin. It is 50/50 merino silk, and the last 2 things I picked to work with it did not actually turn out to look very nice after a little while. It was very nice. This wrap pattern is a free download on Ravelry, available only in French and German. My French is pretty non-existent, but my German is fairly good. And so I have started this, and I really, really like how it turns out. I am not going to say the name on camera because the name's in French. And while it might be amusing to watch me butcher that, I'm not going to do it. I will put a link in the down bar to the pattern, and I will try to put it on the screen. But it's really simple. It is basically a knit row, a purl row, a knit row, and then this funny knit row, which involves wrapping the yarn around the needle 3 times and then pulling it through, which gives you a knit stitch, but gives you a knit stitch of kind of epic proportion. And you just keep doing these stripes. The pattern says 32 rows. I'm actually going to, and then you do 3 more rows of knit, purl knit, to recover and give yourself a nice edge. I am going to try to time it so that I use almost all of this up, which should produce a nice big wrap. It certainly does in the pictures on Ravelry for the other people who made it, and this is a little bit bigger than the skein they're using. So I will definitely link that for you so you can find it. If you don't read French or German, I'm happy to put up my translation. See if I can't contact the designer and do that for her or him. I don't know. It looked like a company name, not a person's name. I am still using the bullet journal, but I am not really doing the journaling perhaps the way they intended. So mostly what I'm doing is writing out knitting patterns in it and plans for projects, and then using it to tally my knitting patterns as I do rows. It's really handy to always have a notebook with me and just a little thing that I can throw in my bag and I can take notes. And the one thing I am keeping up with that is really part of bullet journaling is that I am then numbering the pages and making an index so that I can find what I'm looking for back in the journal. I don't have any finished or in-process spinning to show you. I have been spinning little short increments, but spinning is still fairly hard on my ankle and my leg, and so I'm not getting the great big spinning time that I am more accustomed to being able to do and being able to produce. Lots of things. Just water today. I talked a lot about measurement in the last episode, and I closed it by saying that I would be rescanning those 3 skeins of yarn that I demonstrated on, and that I would do the wrap it around the niddy noddy and count it method of measuring to back check with the McMoran balance. And the McMoran balance is supposed to be more accurate, and the niddy noddy measurement is supposed to give you an error factor of about 10% at the greatest. And the way that's caused is if you start wrapping too tight, you're stretching the yarn. What I found was a great discrepancy in 2 out of the 3 skeins with what I got as an answer for their length on the McMoran scale and what I got as an answer for the length wrapping it around a niddy noddy and counting. So I'm going to get myself a line counter and run them all through that. There should be an error, but the error is in the wrong direction. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bunch of commercially produced standardized yarns. This is a great time for my grandmother's leftover stash of partial bits of Red Heart yarn. And I'm going to do up a whole bunch of those. One of the places that I looked at said that sometimes the McMoran scale is not as good at hand knit measurements simply because there's variation in the yarn, which could account for the thicker thin 2-color yarn I showed, because there is a lot of variation, but there wasn't a lot of variation in the other 2, and one came within 4 yards of being the same in both, and the other one was a much greater discrepancy. So the quest for good measuring continues, and I will keep you updated on that, and we'll see. So I'm going to play around with some commercial yarn and measuring while I look for a line measure that I like, which again are designed for fishing, for fishermen, not for yarn makers. But it's one of the things that you can use to count the length of a string. So it's all about the same. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was my birthday present. My birthday's in October, so talking about it in March is kind of strange, except I just got it. A friend of mine wanted to get me a blending board, and so she ordered the carding cloth, and it wasn't supposed to get here, and it wasn't supposed to get here, and it wasn't supposed to get here. And then the day she was coming over to help celebrate my birthday party, to help celebrate my birthday at my party, it arrived. Like, she said that she got it, she found out that it was there, she was running errands, and so she grabbed, her plan was to grab a cutting board and tack it down. So she managed to run out and do this and just got it done just in time. to come up to the party and give it to me. The problem was the carding cloth and the cutting board were almost the same size, and there was nowhere to get a really good grip on the board to use it, and that didn't work very well. And my dad saw it and he's like, oh, well, we were going to do one of those for you. Your mom just hadn't ordered the cloth yet. I was like, oh, okay. And so he said, well, I can take the cloth off that cutting board and make you the board like you want with a handle and a stand, and I can probably sand the holes at least smooth on the cutting board. So that's what he did. He took the cloth off the cutting board and he sanded it off nice, and it works great as a cutting board. It's a lovely cutting board. It has little feet. And I didn't actually have a wooden cutting board, so that's good. And I've been enjoying that. But then he got to not feeling so well, so he didn't get around to making me the board. But he finished it yesterday. So it has a nice sturdy handle, and it has a leg that can be adjusted to go in either direction. So in this position, it's really good to use on your lap. One leg on either side, you can hold it there firm, and then you have both hands free to work with fiber. If you turn it back this way, it's really good to have it sit up on a table and be a nice work surface up on a diagonal. And so this combination present is super awesome, and I am looking forward to using it. And the first thing that I'm going to use it on is the mystery spin. I am going to create a separate video for the fiber prep and the spinning of the mystery spin. Probably just little quickie segments instead of a whole big video, but we'll see how that works out. One of the things that I know that I'm going to do is I am going to comb the Lincoln and diz it off the combs to create a nice top fiber to spin, and I am going to take the comb waist and card it with the rose fiber. And I think that should be a really pretty blend with the dark grays and the bright teal. And so that is going to be, there might be some of the other fibers in there, but that's going to be the base of one of the plies for the mystery spin. So I'm really looking forward to doing that, and I am going to be using the blending board and the combs in that process. Probably also the hand cards. We're just going to use all the tools. So look forward to that. The plans for this week are to work on the shawl, cast on a new pair of socks, make some decisions on sweaters. I think, I don't know. I was thinking about casting on a sweater for one of the children next, but it's getting so warm that I don't know that they'd wear it, whereas I wear a sweater almost all the time. In the summer, we keep the house fairly cold, and so sweaters are nice then, and then you step outside and you're like, why am I wearing a sweater? And you take it off. But in any event, I wear a sweater almost all the time. The kids usually don't wear a sweater once spring rolls around, so it might make more sense for me to cast on another thing for me. So that is our plan moving forward. Knit all the things and then craft more. I hope that you are having a lovely week, and I hope that all your projects are going well. And I will see you next time. Bye.